everybody, welcome back. Mike here. In the previous Camtasia videos in this series, I went through all kinds of tips and tricks in each video. I think on average, I probably showed 10 to 15 things within Camtasia to help you become an expert in making videos with Camtasia. In this video, we're gonna change it up though. I'm gonna show you one thing within Camtasia. I'm gonna show you how to blur out text or things within your videos very, very easily in Camtasia. Let's jump right into it. So in our case, we have a basic screen capture showing some files here. This is a video. We can see I'm moving my mouse. And eventually I go to the search bar and I start typing some text. In this case, I type, "Don't show this text." So I'm going to show you how to blur that text. And I'm also going to show you how to blur this area as well, maybe an individual file name or something like that. All of our blur effects in Camtasia will be under annotations right here. From there, you'll then make sure you're on the blur and highlight tab, which looks like a little drop. From there, the one that you want most probably is going to be one of these. So let me show you the difference. If I select this one right here and drag it over here to the text, it's very pixelated, very heavily pixelated. And we can resize it. Now we can, minimize it or make it a little smaller. We can use the keyboard to get it right. I'm not a fan of that effect because it's just very heavily pixelated. So I'm going to hit delete on that. Instead, we might want the one next to it, which allows us to just get a nice little blur. So you can still see there's something there. It's just not readable. Now, my advice for this stage when you're adjusting blurs, first, drag it on top of your video that you want to blur. Second, I recommend zooming in. So I click right here, we're at 100%. Maybe we go to 200%. And let's zoom out just a little bit. Somewhere like right there. So what that allows me to do is very easily move this exactly where I want to blur. So in my case, I want to blur maybe just the first file name. So like right there. And what I can then do from there is just click this little middle dot right here, drag it over here, and that's it. So if I click off of that, that lets us kind of verify that it is blurring what we wanted to blur. Let's go ahead from here and now adjust where the blur takes effect. Where is it playing in our video? Because if you start the video over and I hit play, it starts unblurred, then it's blurred, and now it's unblurred again. So what we want to do is extend it so that it is completely blurred for maybe the duration of the video. So what I will do then, I like to scroll to the point that I want it blurred. So in this case, somewhere around right there. So what I like to do is just click on that blur. Let's move it to the beginning of that track and just extend it right there. And I like to then use Shift Command Plus to zoom in as far as I can. And this way I can walk frame by frame. So I can see that that blur should be here, there. It should take effect there. And in the next frame, it should not. And by the way, if you didn't get this right, here's what it would look like. So it would be blurred, then it shifts and it's still blurred, which doesn't look good. So that's why it's important to kind of use this to get it to the perfect spot. Now, if we zoom out on our timeline and I go back to the beginning of the video, and let's go ahead and make this 100% now. Now, if I hit play, we see that it plays. It is completely blurred on that spot, and we should see, there we go. We see that when the screen changed, it was still blurred. So that was perfect throughout the whole process. Now let's blur this one up here. The same way I like to do this, I like to zoom in really far. And we'll go ahead and make sure that at the beginning of the text, so I start typing, let's see, let's go back actually. Let's find where the first letter was. So the first letter came in that frame right there. So what I want to do is drag one of the blur effects on here. Now, it's not relevant to what we're talking about today, but just so you know, there's sort of a reverse blur. So if I click this effect, this will actually make it so that everything is blurred except that one little area. This is a great effect if you just want to zero in on something and draw the attention of your audience to one particular part of the screen. In our case, though, of course, we don't want that, so we're going to delete that. Now, as far as our blur, let's go ahead and drag that down here. I'm going to have it start right there, which we know should be pretty much spot on. We can go ahead and let's just zoom in. And again, I'm going to drag the playhead through this, making sure that the blur is taking effect at the right point. And it is, so we'll move it there, but obviously we didn't put it in the right position. So we need to bring it up here. And again, I will just use these little dots to get the sizing right. What I like to do once it gets really narrow is just use my keypad. So I'll just use my up arrows to get it in the right area, and then use this little dot right here to drag it over there. All right, so at that point, if I go ahead and I just hit play, let's zoom out a little and hit play, we see that I can see there's text happening. Now, of course, in this case, we have file names contains don't show this text. So if I wanted to, maybe I would click that and just do something like this. So that way it just covers all of it. So we see, there we go. It's essentially covering it all now. And you can play with it and get it perfect, but hopefully you kind of understand the concept here. So that's all there really is to adding a blur effect to your Camtasia videos. Pretty simple, but a very important skill to have, especially when you have that sensitive data that you don't want to share with the world.